Masters of the Universe. Wings of Doom. High among the peaks of the Mystic Mountains lay the beautiful land of Avion. The people of Avion had the power of flight, and the most skilled of all in the air was their leader, Stratos. Stratos had many times helped He-Man and his friends in their fight against evil. And because of this, he had made a deadly enemy of Skeletor, Lord of Destruction. At length, Skeletor decided to punish Stratos. He knew, however, that Stratos was clever and brave. Only by a trick could the Lord of the Air be lured into Skeletor's clutches. Skeletor knew that Stratos had a lovely wife called Delora. If she were in danger, nothing would stop Stratos coming to her aid. Too late, Stratos would discover that he had walked into a trap. Skeletor called for one of his slaves and gave him instructions for the kidnapping of Delora. In the warm, early morning sunshine, Delora stood on the balcony of her home. Far below lay the peaceful Avion countryside. Suddenly, a speck appeared in the sky. High above the mountain peaks, it grew steadily bigger. Was it a messenger seeking Stratos? Delora strained her eyes to see. Too late, she realized that it was not one of Stratos's people. It was not even human. It was a giant winged reptile, a wyvern, one of the evil creatures in the service of Skeletor, Lord of Destruction. The wyvern circled above the house, its long neck swaying from side to side as it searched for its prey. Then, with a loud screech, the winged monster swooped down in a powerful dive. Delora ran for the door leading into the building. The wyvern sailed across the balcony, seized her in its talons, and in a moment was winging its way back across the mountains before she could utter a single cry. High in the chill air, the wyvern soared. Soon the Mystic Mountains lay far behind. Ahead, gray snow clouds showed where the ice mountains towered above the bleak northern lands of Eternia. A gap appeared in the snow clouds. The wyvern with its burden made for the gap, and Delora felt a gust of warm air. But the air was foul and evil-smelling. It rose from the surface of a volcanic lake which boiled and bubbled far below. The snow-covered mountains surrounded the lake. A barren island lay in its center. On the crags surrounding the lake, scores of wyverns perched, their leathery wings folded. They were the fierce sentinels of the lake. The wyvern, carrying Delora, glided over the island and put her down on the gravel shore. In Snake Mountain, Skeletor rubbed his hands with satisfaction as he sent a message to Stratos.
Your wife will be returned safely to Avion if you surrender yourself into my power.
Stratos was with his friends, He-Man, Teela, and Master-at-Arms in Castle Grayskull when he received Skeletor's message.
I must go to Snake Mountain immediately,
he cried.
There's no knowing what might happen to Delora if I do not agree to Skeletor's terms.
No,
said He-Man.
We cannot trust Skeletor to free Delora even if you do give yourself up. That way we shall achieve nothing. We must match cunning with cunning. Our first task is to discover where Delora is held prisoner. We shall meet here again tomorrow. Before then, I hope that I will have learned more of Skeletor's evil plot.
Leaving the castle on Battle Cat, He-Man set off at speed for the royal palace of Eternia. In a grove of trees close to the palace, he dismounted and became Prince Adam. With Battle Cat also transformed into the cowardly Cringer, he strolled through the gates. As gentle Prince Adam, He-Man lost no time working out a rescue plan. In the topmost turret of the royal palace were stored ancient books and maps. In them was all the knowledge and wisdom of the kingdom of Eternia. Here was perhaps a clue to Skeletor's hiding place for his prisoner. Only a creature of the air could have snatched Delora from her balcony. Skeletor had many evil winged things at his command. Griffins, harpies, and wyverns were the biggest and most powerful. But they all lived within the depths of the evergreen forest, far from Avion. In the ancient scroll there were pictures of wyverns. They were perched among the crags of the ice mountains. Was that where Delora was held prisoner? At that moment, a shadow fell on the scroll. At the open window hovered a giant falcon. It was Zor, messenger of the sorceress. In his mind, Prince Adam heard the voice of the sorceress.
Delora is guarded by evil wyverns in the Vale of Kaldor.
Prince Adam looked again at the scroll. Now he saw that it was a sort of map, and in the center of the mountains was a spot marked, the Vale of Kaldor. It lay many miles to the north. There was not a moment to lose. He turned to the window, but Zor had gone. Hurrying from the turret with the scroll, Prince Adam went to his private chamber. Holding high the sword of power, he cried,
By the power of Grayskull!
And a moment later, he was speeding towards Castle Grayskull as He-Man. In the council chamber of the castle, He-Man showed his friends the ancient scroll and told them of the sorceress's message. Quickly, a plan was made. In order to draw Skeletor's attention, Stratos agreed to pretend to surrender to the Lord of Destruction. Meantime, He-Man, Teela, and Man-at-Arms would travel in the Wind Raider to the Ice Mountains on a rescue mission. As the Masters of the Universe were about to set out, Stratos handed He-Man a ring.
There are only 2 of these rings on the planet.
He said,
Delora has the other. They glow in each other's presence and will help you to find her.
And while Stratos flew off towards Snake Mountain and the lair of Skeletor, He-Man set the Wind Raider on a course for the Ice Mountains. As they landed on the foothills, He-Man said,
The Wind Raider will find it difficult to cross those peaks with a full load. We must seek a pass or some other route to the Vale of Kaldor.
As he spoke, a voice rang out and a figure appeared on a high rock.
Halt! Who travels in these hills? Do you come as friends or enemies?
That is one of the dwarfs.
Said Man-at-Arms.
They are good friends of mine. They mine much of the rare metal I need for making weapons.
Man-at-Arms stood up and waved, and a crowd of dwarfs poured out from among the rocks and surrounded the Wind Raider. Laughing and chattering to each other, the dwarfs gathered round the Masters of the Universe. A slightly taller dwarf stepped forward, and Man-at-Arms cried,
Trog, my old friend! That was a fine load of metal you sent me last time.
We dig nothing but the finest.
replied Trog.
Who are your companions, and what are you doing in these parts?
Quickly, Man-at-Arms explained who He-Man and Teela were. Then he told Trog, who was leader of the dwarfs, about their rescue bid. The dwarfs looked at one another.
The Vale of Kaldor is an evil place.
They said,
We avoid it if we can. But if you must go there, we will be your guides. Our mines and tunnels pass under the mountains. There you will be invisible even to the evil magic of Skeletor until you reach the Vale itself.
He-Man piloted the Wind Raider into hiding among the rocks, where a dwarf stood guard over it. Then, led by dwarfs carrying torches, He-Man, Teela, and Man-at-Arms set off into the heart of the Ice Mountains. Through the twisting, winding tunnels, the dwarfs led He-Man, Teela, and Man-at-Arms. In places, the rocky roof was so low that even the dwarfs had to stoop to pass. In others, the tunnels opened out into caverns, whose roofs were so high that the light of the torches failed to reach them. At length, the level passage began to slope steeply upwards. When it was almost too steep to walk, the party found themselves climbing a staircase cut in the rock. As they paused to rest at the top of a flight of steps, they could hear a distant sound of water. And in a few moments their path took them across a stone arch over a swift underground river. The river flowed into a lake, and at the far end of the lake, a mighty waterfall tumbled out of the darkness above with a loud roar. They left the lake and were just approaching a tunnel entrance when, without warning, a screaming mass of dark shapes sprang out of the shadows.
Trolls!
Cried Trog. The trolls outnumbered the dwarfs many times. Their sharp claws caught the light from the torches, and their fangs were bared in bloodlust. Quickly, Trog ordered the dwarfs into a line. Then they drew swords and swung axes as they faced the trolls. He-Man watched for a moment. The trolls had not yet noticed the full-sized figures in the dim light. He-Man, Tila, and Man-at-Arms aimed their energy weapons, and He-Man cried,
Trog, order your men to fall back!
The line of dwarfs divided in two. The trolls found themselves face to face with 3 armed humans twice the size of the dwarfs. For a moment, they stopped. He-Man gave a signal, and bolts of energy blasted from the Master's weapons. The trolls were bowled over in all directions. They fought one another as they tried to escape. The Masters ceased firing, and the dwarfs charged. Soon, there was not a troll to be seen.